The quote, "Make the rest of your life the best of your life," is a powerful invitation to spiritual awakening. At first glance, it sounds like motivational encouragement, a call to self-improvement or renewed ambition. But in a deeper spiritual context, it carries a much more profound meaning. It suggests that no matter what has happened before this moment, no matter the failures, regrets, disappointments, or lost years, the present remains untouched and full of possibility. Spiritually understood, this quote is not about chasing a better future. It is about awakening now, reclaiming the sacredness of the present, and consciously choosing to live from a higher awareness moving forward. Many spiritual traditions teach that life unfolds in cycles of unconsciousness and awakening. There are seasons when we move through life driven by fear, ego, comparison, or survival. We chase external validation, material success, or approval from others, believing that fulfillment lies outside ourselves. Over time, however, experience itself becomes our teacher. Disappointments reveal the emptiness of superficial pursuits. Pain exposes attachments, failure humbles the ego. Through it all, the soul quietly matures. Eventually, we begin to ask deeper questions. Who am I? What truly matters? Why am I here? It is at this turning point that the quote becomes transformative. Make the rest of your life. The best of your life becomes less about doing more and more about being more. Spiritually, the rest of your life begins the moment awareness dawns. It begins the moment you decide to stop living on autopilot. It begins when you recognize that you are not your past mistakes, not your former ignorance, not your wounds. The past may have shaped you, but it does not define your essence. In fact, much of spiritual growth is the realization that your deepest identity was never damaged by what happened. The core of who you are, your consciousness, your soul, your inner presence remains whole. When we reflect on the idea of making the rest of our lives the best, we often assume it requires dramatic external change, new career, new city, new relationships, new achievements. But spirituality suggests something different. The greatest transformation is internal. The best life is not necessarily the most glamorous, wealthy, or admired one. It is the most awakened one. It is the life lived in alignment with truth, integrity, and love. This shift from external rearrangement to internal realization echoes themes found in many spiritual teachings. Spiritually, making the rest of your life, the best of your life begins with forgiveness of yourself and of others. Many people carry invisible burdens from the past, guilt over poor decisions, shame over failures, resentment toward those who hurt them. These emotional weights anchor them to yesterday. They relive old conversations, replay old betrayals, and mentally rehearse what they should have done differently. But the past cannot be relived. It can only be interpreted, and interpretation is within your power. Forgiveness is not about denying what happened. It is about refusing to allow the past to dictate the future. When you forgive, you release yourself from the identity of victim or failure. You acknowledge that you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. Growth means you see differently now. And because you see differently, you can live differently. The rest of your life becomes a clean canvas. Another spiritual dimension of this quote involves presence. Many people postpone joy. They say, "I'll be happy when I get the promotion," or "I'll relax when things settle down." In doing so, they defer life itself. But spiritual wisdom insists that the only moment available is this one. The best of your life cannot exist in some distant future. It must be cultivated here and now. When you bring your full awareness into the present moment, whether you are working, walking, listening, or simply breathing, you elevate ordinary experiences into sacred ones. To make the rest of your life the best of your life also requires courage. Growth often demands that you step away from familiar patterns. You may need to release relationships that no longer align with your values. You may need to pursue a calling that feels uncertain. You may need to confront fears you have long avoided. Spiritual courage is not reckless ambition. It is the willingness to live authentically. Authenticity is central to a spiritually fulfilling life. When you live according to others' expectations, you fragment yourself. You become an actor in your own story. But when you align your actions with your inner truth, a deep sense of peace emerges. This peace is not dependent on applause or validation. It comes from coherence. the harmony between your inner values and outer behavior. There is also a subtle but important paradox in this quote. The best of your life may not look impressive from the outside. In fact, it may appear quieter, simpler, less dramatic. Spiritual maturity often shifts priorities. What once seemed urgent loses its grip. Instead of striving for superiority, you strive for sincerity. Instead of chasing recognition, you cultivate gratitude. Instead of accumulating possessions, you deepen relationships. The measure of your life changes from external success to internal fulfillment. The spiritual journey is not about perfection, it is about progress and awareness. Making the rest of your life the best does not mean you will never face hardship again. Challenges will still arise, loss will still occur, but your relationship to these experiences transforms. Instead of seeing obstacles as punishment, you see them as teachers. Instead of collapsing under adversity, you grow through it. Gratitude plays a profound role in this transformation. When you consciously appreciate what you already have, health, breath, relationships, opportunities, you shift from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude trains the mind to recognize blessings rather than deficits. It rewires perception, and perception shapes experience. The more you appreciate, the more meaningful life becomes. Another key aspect of this quote is responsibility. To make the rest of your life the best of your life, you must accept ownership of your choices. This does not mean blaming yourself for everything that happened. It means recognizing that from this moment forward, your responses are within your control. You cannot rewrite your past, but you can write your future. Each decision you make becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of your becoming. In this sense, the quote is empowering. It does not promise rescue. It does not depend on external salvation. It places creative authority back into your hands. You are not a passive participant in your life. You are a co-creator. Your thoughts, beliefs, and actions shape your reality in subtle but powerful ways. Love also becomes central. The best of your life will be measured not by how much you achieved, but by how much you loved. Love expressed in kindness, compassion, patience, and understanding transforms both giver and receiver. When you live with an open heart, even mundane moments become meaningful. Love infuses ordinary life with extraordinary depth. There is a spiritual maturity that arises when one stops asking, "What can I get from life?" and begins asking, "What can I give?" Service shifts the focus from ego to contribution, and paradoxically, in giving, you receive a deeper fulfillment than any selfish pursuit could offer. Ultimately, make the rest of your life the best of your life is a declaration of hope grounded in awareness. It affirms that transformation is always possible. It affirms that your essence remains intact despite past mistakes. It affirms that the present moment is a doorway to renewal. No matter your age, background, or history, the rest of your life begins now. It begins with a single decision to live consciously. It begins with choosing gratitude over complaint, courage over fear, authenticity over imitation, love over resentment. It begins with understanding that you are not starting from emptiness, you are starting from experience. Every lesson you have learned becomes fuel for wiser living. The spiritual path is not about escaping the world, it is about inhabiting it fully with awakened awareness. When you live this way, each day becomes an opportunity to refine your character, expand your compassion, and deepen your understanding. In that sense, the best of your life is not a destination, but a direction. It is the ongoing commitment to grow in wisdom and love. And so the quote becomes less of a slogan and more of a sacred commitment. It whispers that it is never too late. It reminds you that renewal is always available. It calls you to step into the present with intention and humility. The past has shaped you, but it does not imprison you. The future is not guaranteed, but it is influenced by the consciousness you bring to today. To make the rest of your life the best of your life is to awaken to live deliberately, love generously, forgive freely, and act courageously. It is to recognize that your highest fulfillment will never come from external accumulation, but from internal alignment. When you embody this awareness, the rest of your life naturally becomes richer, deeper, and more meaningful than anything that came before. And in that awakening, you discover that the best was never about circumstances at all. It was about consciousness.